Okay, hi. Just got done seeing Godzilla King of the Monsters. Holy crap. Quick preface, still too much people, humany stuff for me. Still a little too much, but it was better in the realm of that the whole thing of their humany stuff really did revolve around the monsters. Even some of the family rescue stuff, I mean, it all centralized and focused on like the whole thing was about the monsters instead of about some muscle-headed potato faced military industrial daddy issue bag trying to, I gotta get my we're we're gonna fight him in the family and my dad like bullshit like Pacific Rim in the first God or the other Godzilla movie from 2014. um but holy crap. More monsters, not just in terms of actual numbers of monsters, or they had that too, but also more screen time for the monsters. And a 2-hour movie, it wasn't 15 minutes of monsters and then douchebags with daddy issues. No, it was way more actual stuff with the monsters. And um, these like sort of secret base things all over the damn place, including Antarctica. And they also had a guy who was pushing hollow Earth theory, which is just sort of funny. But also apparently, well, not well, they went into a lot of mythology stuff about it, where Zhang Zi's character, the main character, because it's the thing, was showing, okay, she's like cross-referencing all these mythology things with everybody, all these different places to figure this stuff out. Um, and that so she's the one that they actually they do both names for Ghidorah. They do Monster Zero because that's what the one lady sort of named her because they didn't have a name, and then but they made it. It was like, oh, I found it. It's Ghidorah. So they had that, but a lot of mythology stuff. They were showing stuff from like these caves and these other paintings and everything like that of um, they started calling them titans. Yeah, these monsters have been here for since the dawn of time, or at least since prehistory and everything else. And they were like these original gods, and this where we get the whole thing with the titans. And I was kind of mad at first because, all right, you have Mothra, and they treated Mothra pretty damn well, I thought, which I was worried about. But they treated Mothra pretty well, but I'm like, there's no little fairy twins singing. There's Why aren't there fairy twins singing? But they did show Song Zi's character, but someone else who's exactly like her. And then she showed pictures of, oh look, I'm second, third generation in this monarch. The monarch. Sorry, organization that's been dealing all this stuff with these monsters and everything for decades and decades, and there's always twins. They always have twins, and it's always her. So they still slid that twins thing in there, and since they all look the same over this period of time, maybe there's a little supernaturally stuff in there with that too. So they kind of maybe there's something else with it, or say there could be just something with her family with twins, and they all look alike, but maybe there's something else with that there too. So that was cool. Honestly, like there's multiple times when Mothra shows up, I literally got chills. Like I was sweating through part of this movie. I was like, I was sweating. Like the Mothra stuff was cool. Like people were like, "Oh, Mothra's a bitch." I'm like, "Fuck you, Mothra's not a bitch." And I actually almost got mad at this douchebag down the road from me because they were talking shit about Mothra. I'm like, how did you not get chills in the Mothra parts? Like spraying the wings and he comes up. I mean, it was Mothra was almost sort of like the feminine sort of yin to Godzilla's yang. They kept up the motif, which I like, of Godzilla is this major protector. Sorry, text protector of the world and the earth. And they even talked about, I mean, they didn't say like these monsters and stuff were almost sort of like the antibodies. That's kind of the way they couched it a little bit. But it's these are natural phenomena trying to um, kind of reset things. And they actually worked with that idea. It was like, okay, well, now we're going to reset this. So, which is funny, even Millie Bobby Brown's in this, and then the science teacher from Stranger Things is in it for a hot minute. And then Tywin Lannister executes. Yeah, there's going to be spoilers. Fucking deal with it. And yeah, Tywin Lannister like executes him. So the chick who's from, I think that Bates Motel show, the woman who's from that, who's the mum, who's also in The Departed. That's what I'm trying to think of. She was in The Departed. It's like Vera Farmiga. Farmiga. I'm trying not to brutalize the Italian name, but she's in it. And then Powder Toast Man is her ex-husband, and Millie Bobby Brown's the daughter, and they lost a son in the Godzilla fighting the Muto things in 2014. So that had a whole thing. And then Tywin Lannister, Charles Dance is a sort of eco-terrorist, and then the mum, and him kind of work on, because they have, she makes this called Orca, the sonar thing that they basically can signal the monsters. Long story short, with it, they know how to kind of signal the monsters and everything, and they test it with larva Mothra. Um, baby, aw. Hold on a second. He's got boogers. He's got eye boogies. Care and maintenance of the pug, right, babies? I got distracted. Sorry. I'm not sorry. I get distracted by pugs. That's a good thing to be distracted by. And so that kind of sets in motion all this stuff coming out. Now, they do sort of hit you on the head a few times with previewing Godzilla versus King Kong. King Kong is, they call him Kong. They reference Skull Island multiple times. He's considered to be one of these titans as well. They already started talking about him. They already started bringing him in. They talked about Skull Island. Um, so they're bringing that King Kong, and they're setting that up. In one of the pieces of cave art that they show, especially at the end, is basically Godzilla and King Kong. Um, so that's heavily foreshadowed. Um, to an extent, I appreciate that they just sort of threw it in and just talked about, okay, Skull Island, we have this one, and we have these other monsters, and Godzilla and Kong and this, and then, oh well, and this is happening on Skull Island. Like, they did it in such a way, except for the one cave art that they showed, which was just sort of like, see, the rest of it was kind of put in there if you were paying attention and knew what to do. Okay. Ken Watanabe was amazing, as all I knew he would be, but he was amazing with that. Um, like, entirely too amazing with that. Like, he was so good. Um, I'm just losing track. Stop it! Sorry, I didn't realize I didn't do that. Sorry. So and they had all these bases. I mean, they had a big sci-fi kind of thing with it, because they had all these bases that were set up to monitor these other creatures all over the world, and billions of dollars are going into it, and the military's trying to take it over through Senate hearings and all this other stuff, but the sciencey people, including the woman from Shape in the Water for good 15 minutes, was trying really hard to be like, no, this can't be in military hands, because if you just kill him, this is going to screw up the balance of the world. So they had like this is part of the natural balance of things too, which again, like I said, I liked. Um, but yeah, they had kind of Rodan in there doing his thing, and King Ghidorah he was fucking awesome. Like, just the way stuff look. Like they did an amazing job with just the way stuff looks. Like some of the shots, some of the things Godzilla swimming looks ridiculously real. Because you're kind of underwater with it, so that kind of fudges if you can kind of see some of the CG. But even just the way they had him moving was ridiculously real. It was like, holy crap! Like these are movies that you need to see at least once on the big screen. I can understand not liking to go to the theater or cinema or whatever and doing all this stuff, but there's some shit you need to see in theater. This is definitely one of those things you need to see in the theater. So even like this, sort of sci-fi, massive, huge stealth bomber, aircraft carrier, wannabe shield carrier things that they were using was, um, like appropriate. I mean, there was some sort of ridiculous, almost sci-fi kind of tech in with it, but it had its place. Excuse me, it had its place, and that was kind of fun. Um, Part of the mythology too. They noticed that okay, oh well, we thought if we released all these monsters, then it would bring the world balance because apparently where they were fighting before, their radiation was helping promote things growing. So the whole thing that the woman was saying was, all right, if we get out of the way, if they're allowed to do their thing, the world will reset to a better place. The great extinction we've been worried about is here, and we're causing it. They're here to put shit right. But what she didn't know, and they found out later, is that the one twin of Zhang Zi was playing that was in it most of the time, figured out that Ghidorah was actually from space. So he's extraterrestrial. And that's why when he's up and running things and everything like that, shit's getting fucked up. The other monsters are going off of him as alpha and leveling everything because he's remaking things in a way that isn't natural to Earth. Um, so even they Godzilla and he fight a couple times, and Godzilla kind of gets the best of him a couple of times, and then they brought in the oxygen bomb, and that messed him up. But then where do they find him healing? Because they figured, oh, we're gonna nuke him, and that'll bring him back, and then he can kill Ghidorah and shit right. So where do they find him? They kind of do get sucked into almost like this weird tunnel thing. So the Hollow Earth guy is like, see, I was right, which is it's just amusing to me. But it's basically Atlantis. They basically find Atlantis. There's this huge sunken underground city that's massively old that has a cross of architecture. They mentioned it was like, what is this? Greek, Roman, Egyptian? What? It's like this is older than all that. There's statues and art and all this other stuff depicting Godzilla. I mean, huge, massive, colossal statues of like Godzilla guardians and all this other stuff. And there's this huge, like, sort of river of radioactive lava that runs through it, and that's apparently where he had been living and staying through the centuries until kind of woken back up. And so he was there after the oxygen bomb to kind of reset himself. Mothra kind of helped guide them there and came to them and guided them there and all this other stuff. So they set off the nuke and supercharge him back up, but they blow up. See, my thing was like, okay, you just blew up Atlantis, and where the hell is he going to have a home now? I mean, it's destroyed, it's blown up. So where is he going to chill and then regenerate then later? Like, does he have stashes? Is it still fine there? Like he's got to dig deeper or something and it's fine? We just blew up Atlantis. Now, granted, you're saving the world and you didn't know it was there to begin with, but it still kind of breaks my heart a little bit. Um, but when he comes up again after that, like fully charged, again chills, again like oh. Now I admit there were a couple instances in the movie where I laughed in places where again maybe shouldn't laugh. A couple of the people deaths were kind of like, oh, I'm the only one laughing, but I don't care. Um, but there are also times Mothra coming out fully mothy, Godzilla coming back out. I mean, some of this isn't really spoiler. You can kind of guess if they're monsters. It's not just going to be a one-off and he's going to win easily. you know there's going to be some drama and return fights with this. If you've ever watched a effing Godzilla movie, you know how kind of this works. Um, but when he comes back up, and I'm going to also take this moment to give a shout out to Bear McCreary. Clearly one of the best ever music composers for movies or TV ever. Now, I would have laid him out with that just for the Battlestar Galactica from the 2000s, because his music in that was amazing. But I think it doesn't he do like the Walking Dead theme too or something like that. But in this, the actual he um, wove in sometimes kind of subtly with Mothra the la da 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 that the little twin fairy girls would always sing, their thing to help call Mothra up. He wove that melody in when Mothra is, and then in the earlier parts, and then later it was really apparent, but it was really beautiful and powerful. And then when Godzilla's coming back up after getting nuked and recharged out of the smoldering fucking hole of Atlantis, um, the Godzilla theme that he made for this with some of like the almost sort of hope and like kind of chanting sort of things with it, plus the theme, it was like like seriously like legit like chills. And he in the theater there was some of those. I laughed at inappropriate times because I do, and then there's like yeah, stuff, and that was a huge one coming up in that theme playing. Holy crap! Like Bear McCreary, man, that guy is just awesome. Um, but yeah, and the actual fights were just freaking badass. Now they interwove a lot of stuff with the people looking for the kid or the thing or the so some of the fights, like you're seeing the fight as they're doing stuff around it. So you're kind of seeing both. Um, in a lot of the shots, which again is a little disappointing to me because I don't kind of care about the people. I want to see the monsters fighting. So when they actually were showing the monsters fighting, flipping amazing. Like it all looked real. It all looked good. It all like the actual fighting was seemed, not just like why would a thing do that? He used his tail a couple times, both using their destructo breaths and everything, and then Ghidorah gets supercharged electricity once, and he opens up like full and shooting stuff all over the place, and you're back. You got fuck, it was cool. God, yeah, like seriously, like was getting chills a bunch of the times, sweating. I'm like, I couldn't sit still a couple of times because it was just like, that was good. So, so Godzilla, King of the Monsters, still a lot of peoply stuff, um, but a lot of the way better in terms of the monster proportions, way better in terms of the fighting and actually having the monsters in it, way better about the movie actually being about the fucking monsters. Finally. Pacific Rim couldn't do it. The first Godzilla couldn't do it. Fuck the one with Matthew Broderick, who's I don't even know why the hell he was ever famous to begin with. But that one was just 18,000 types of hot mess. Um, but okay. So finally, we made in the West a monster movie. Um, besides, what was it? The Behemoth, the giant behemoth, which I don't think it was. I don't know. I think it was from the maybe 60s. I think it was British. It was basically sort of a wannabe Godzilla clone, but it had more fins on the side. Um, but it was a giant flippin' kaiju movie made in the West, and actually was about the monsters finally. So holy crap! I'm going to see it again in the theater because I feel like I need to see it again in the theater because holy crap, that was really good. So Godzilla, King of the Monsters, Go see it. Thanks. Bye. Like, subscribe, all that other stuff.